This week on The Buzz, we have the honor and privilege of speaking with Stella Award winner, host of Praise on Sirius Radio, and now author, Mita Washington. Good evening, Mita, and how are you?
Good evening. I'm doing just fine, Sherwood. Thank you so much.
Yes. So today is the release day. Today is an exciting day. So I guess you've been pretty busy because we're getting this interview in towards the top of the evening and you're still going at it. So thank you so much for squeezing us in on such a packed day.
Oh, I appreciate it. It's truly an honor to be here with you all.
So before we kind of get into any of the questions and anything else, we want to start it off with a little bit of a icebreaker. So the first thing
Okay.
I'm gonna throw at you here is who is your most and least favorite person in the Bible? And you can't say Jesus because everyone say Jesus. We all like Jesus, so no, we
Hmm.
don't want you to say that. So let's
No,
let's
I
start
got
with
you.
that.
Hmm. I think one of my most favorite people in the Bible has got to be the woman. Let me see, the woman with the issue of the blood. I
Mm,
would say
okay.
her because, I mean, she was courageous. She was not someone who was welcome to even be in the area that she had been in at that time.
Okay.
I mean, if
True.
you put it in current time, she was not welcome on the block. You know,
Right.
her type
Right.
her type was not welcome. And for her to say, I have this problem. I know that, this savior is not the one that, my people recognize to be the savior, but I believe him. I believe in what, I'm desperate, and I
Mm-hmm.
just believe him to come to him. I admire her courage because to defy, her own culture and come forward to Christ the way that she had, people do that, often, more often than we give credit to. There are
Yes, this is
people
true.
who did not necessarily grow up in the church or, of a culture where they recognize Jesus as their savior, as part of their family life. And they have the courage to say, I want to know more about Jesus. And, you know, that's what she did. So I would say she's one of my favorite people.
That's a good one. I haven't heard that one before. Okay,
Yeah,
I like that. I like that
she's
one.
one of
Okay,
my favorites.
I'll give.
I'd say one of
Mhm.
my least favorite people,
Oh
you
boy, go
know,
ahead.
has got to be Pharaoh. I mean,
Oh
I
man.
I am reminded of Pharaoh, and I'm not going to say too, but every time I turn the TV on these days, I'm reminded of Pharaoh.
Let my
And I'm
people go.
yeah, and I'm reminded why Pharaoh was such a loathsome individual. I mean, being so hard-headed, the person that just, he can't stand reason, he can't stand the idea that, that people belong, that there
Yeah,
is no
yeah.
reason for people to be excluded or to be denied, and God said enough is enough. I mean, I look and I go, yep, that's Pharaoh, I mean, I'm looking at the plagues and everything else going on, and I'm saying, what is it going to take, you know, for us to have that, Red Sea moment, to be
I
able to
like it.
say,
I like it.
hey, listen, we're crossing over this moment into the promised land, because, believe me, there is a promised land that
This is
awaits
true.
us.
This is
So,
true.
that's my favorite and least favorite. I like that question. Thank you for
Oh,
that.
oh wow. Okay, so that's good. You see, a lot of times you ask that question, the first thing is Jesus and Judah. Like everyone loves them,
Really,
hated Judah, and everyone
Jesus
loves.
is a given,
Yeah,
you
correct. So
know.
that's why I have to remove that from the equation. But that's
Yeah,
good.
Judas, I mean,
Pharaoh.
yeah, Judas had his
Pharaoh.
issues, but come on, let's give him some
That
slack. He
no,
he
I
returned
yeah.
he returned the coins to the temple, tried to make things
Try to
right
do right.
at the
See,
last
see.
second, at the 11th hour, so
See,
give
see,
him some
that's
slack.
someone that knows Bible, that knows
That's
that
right.
follow-up part. So I give you
That's
that. There,
right.
there it
That's
is.
right. Show some grace, you
Exactly.
know?
I like it. I like it where we're
hmm
going. Okay, so now, what is your go-to Bible version and why?
Oh, wow. I honestly have no go-to version, and I tell you, because
Okay.
I deal with such a broad audience, you
Mm-hmm.
know it's it will be impossible to assume that everyone is using the same reference. So, in particular for myself, when I'm doing things like Tuesday trivia, I always refer to multiple different translations at the same time because I don't want to leave anything open to interpretation. When I select a question,
Hmm.
I want to make sure that, that there's very little, variance in the answer. I don't want it to be subject to opinion. A lot of people
Good,
tend
good.
to, inject their opinions in. And, I want it to be, black and white, no gray. So depending on the translation, sometimes it can give or take a little. So I make sure that I'm always comparing so that, we all walk away with the same understanding. So for myself,
Okay.
I prefer New International Version or English. I mean, I
Okay.
have spent years, at the start of, my early years in church, staring at the King James Version, just like everybody
Mm.
else, knowing
Oh
full and
yeah.
well that I didn't understand what was going on, the majority of what was going on.
Hmm.
I leaned, heavily on the pastor's interpretation of
Yeah,
what
yeah.
he read, because basically that's what it is. I mean, we tend to take the word of our, clergy as what, and this is not a knock on,
Yeah, of course.
clergy and any, but I mean, everyone is subject to error. It behooves us to know the word for ourselves. I have the Strong's Concordance. If I need to get a further understanding of what exactly something means, I will use that. So I would say I use multiple translations, for my own benefit.
Okay, no, that makes sense. That's a good answer. So now this one here, and I only got two more of this before we go into the
Okay.
interview. But so now this here, what's your comfort scripture?
Oh, I say that my comfort scripture at this time is one that I mean, I have definitely been leaning on. Huh, let me see. I'm trying to think here. Okay. I got it. I had to think about it because I had a few of them at the same
I'm
time
sure
here.
you have
All right.
tons of them.
No, I had to, because you know what? You get so many of them in your head and you repeat them that sometimes you
Yeah.
are scrambling them together. But for sure, I would say, for I reckon that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed within us. And that is from the book of Romans 8. And, I was getting confused with Romans 8, the famous one, it's like all things work together for the good of
Hmm.
those that love the Lord. I think that Romans 8:18, that one, really speaks to this moment. We tend to focus a lot on, what's going on at the present
Yeah.
time and what's going on in the season. And I think if we take our concentration off of our sufferings, we will realize that, what's to come, is so much greater, the glory that shall be revealed within us. So, again, that's Romans 8:18. I had to remember it's not 8:28, it's
What-
8:18.
So what's funny about that? Yours is 8:18. Mine is Romans 12:21. So
Oh,
same
wow.
my numbers too. And that's do not be overcome by evil, but overcome
Oh,
evil with good. So you have 8 and 18,
yes.
and I have 12 and 21. So that's pretty interesting.
All right. All right. The book, that's two for two for the book of Romans.
No, this last one here, no,
Okay.
this one, it might be semi, well, I wouldn't say controversial or anything, but
I
so,
don't worry
so
about
this one here,
controversy.
Bible entanglement couple.
Oh,
Who would you
Lord.
go? Who would you go with that?
Oh, Lord. Well, I would have to say it's got to be David and Bathsheba. I mean, that man stood up there. He knew that the woman was married. She down there taking a bath. Now, mind you, it was a public space. I'm assuming that's
Yes.
what everybody did during that time, a little splash up and whatnot. She had to know she was looking good, and she may, I don't want to say she may or may not have known that, that particular place that she was bathing. I don't remember hearing about it being, like a whole bunch of people there bathing, but just she. And it was right there, um, facing where the king could see her,
Hmm.
So, I mean, there she was. And, okay, she can't help herself. But King David, that was something else, sending her husband Uriah out there to the
Yes.
front
Yes.
line. having him killed just so that he can have this woman. But you know what? God did not make, what I love about that story is that God did not make that the end of the story for either of them.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, being the parents later of, one of the best, one of the most famous Bible characters
Yeah.
afterwards. I don't want to say characters,
Mm-hmm,
people in the
mm-hmm.
Bible. Some people
Yeah.
hear character and think, oh, I don't, it's not like a false person, it's a real person. Yes. But yeah, definitely entanglement there. You can't top that.
So what would you say about Abraham, Sarah, and the servant? What
Oh
would you
goodness. Yeah, that was a mess.
that's a
I
little
mean,
little, but
I mean, this
that's
I said she, I was like, Sarah, what did you expect? You didn't wait, you asked for this, you told the man, go ahead and be with your husband. And
mm-hmm.
or rather you told him, and he was, I'm assuming even men during that time are like, well, okay. It's kind of like, well, oh, you want me to lay with your hand servant? Well, okay, and then to turn around and despise her, afterwards, that was kind of like, come on, you kind of had that one coming,
No, I got you. I got you. So yeah, so that's all I had from that
All
from that
right.
section there. So we'll move on. So now you mentioned now. Well, I guess before we even touched on Tuesday trivia. So tell us how did you get your start in radio, and also to kind of like your journey to Kurt Franklin praise on Sirius, like how kind of just step us through that a little bit.
Okay. Well, it's funny, when you hear people say someone was at the right place at the right time, well,
Mm-hmm.
God truly did that. I mean, how I first got my start in radio, I was working, I was a journalism I'm sorry, and I was working in radio behind the scenes, working in
Okay.
the sales department, but I never had any ambition, in terms of being on air. It just never occurred to me. I happened to be at a radio station that was in New Jersey, a jazz radio station. At the time, I was married to someone that was a disc jockey for a jazz channel,
Okay.
you know, and he happened to have also been, one of the early employees for CD Radio, which later became Sirius Radio, then SiriusXM, and then
Oh,
now, of
okay.
course, SiriusXM Pandora. And he and I, had just early on had gotten married, and the program director for that channel said, "Oh, I think it would be really cute if your wife got on air with you." And he said, "Oh, yeah, sure." And at the time, they were having a fundraiser rather, for the station. And, they asked him, he said, "Yeah, sure." And, the program director said to me, "Well, I just need you to read off the names of some of these, folks that have been donating and so forth." And I
Yeah.
said, "Oh, yeah, sure." And in my mind, I'm going, no, 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 no. I mean, I just, my head was nodding, my mouth was saying yes, but my mind was saying, oh God, no. On top of that, I was in the room with the volunteers, and, they were looking at me like, well, what's she gonna do? And I basically stood there with a music stand in front of me and some papers, and my husband at the time, he was all the way on the other side in the physical studio.
hmm
And they gave me the headphones to put on, and literally, Sherwin, I could hear my heart beating through the headphones.
I know that feeling, but go
And
ahead.
I looked at the light on the wall, and when it flashed red to say that we were
Whew.
live, all of a sudden something clicked.
Mm.
And I just kind of fell right into character and started
Wow.
just doing my thing. And it was at that very moment that the person that was, in charge of CD Radio doing the hiring, and someone else that was on staff that was in management, both of them happened to be listening to that jazz channel and heard me on
Wow.
air,
Okay.
with my husband, and said, your wife really sounds good on the air. Would she be interested in trying out when they start to, bring on the jocks? So, I said, yeah, sure. Now, just to fast forward, almost a whole year had gone by, and I hadn't heard anything. And, I finally said, well, are you all still looking for any
Uh-huh.
jocks? And they said, well, we only have like a couple of genres left. And, do you happen to know anything about gospel? And I was like, do I know anything about gospel? I belong to four choirs. I mean, I was in
Yeah,
church and
yeah.
involved in several, and that was the start of me getting
Wow.
involved in radio. There was no demo tape. And, you
Mm,
know, people are like, oh, could you tell, this was definitely God ordained. I do not
love it, love
ever
it.
take it for granted that God placed me within that opportunity. Some people say, oh, well, that was luck. No, luck was
Oh
20
yeah,
years
oh yeah.
ago. Somewhere along the line, you have to
Yeah,
prove
yeah,
yourself.
of course.
And I had to do a lot of self-teaching. I'm still learning. I'm
Mm-hmm.
still very humble about the journey.
Indeed.
I don't take it for granted that God has trusted me with his people and with his platform. And, this is not my time to shine where I'm sounding good and looking
Yeah, yeah.
good. I don't do any of that. I'm always mindful that, how I got the opportunity.
That's wow.
Okay. And
That's an
and then
amazing story.
you
Yeah.
asked how I got to Kirk Franklin's praise. Well,
Mm-hmm.
actually, I was there before Kirk got there. Kirk actually
Oh,
came on as, representative of the brand about, and he and I were talking about this recently. I don't know if it's 5 or 6 years, but it's only been 5 or 6 years. It's been wonderful having him partner with us, but I've been there
got it.
for 20.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
okay. Got it, got it. Wow. Okay, yeah,
Hmm.
definitely luck can't carry you for 20 years.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
Luck might give you like a month or two,
Oh,
but
yeah.
that ain't luck.
And
So
listen, give it a year or even five, but I mean, somewhere, as they say, it got to come out in the wash sometime, you know?
I love it. So tonight we're here talking about your book, Bible Trivia Made Easy. So, but
Yes.
now that there's a backstory involved there with that book. Now there's something there along the line of Tuesday Trivia that you started. So tell us a little bit about Tuesday Trivia, how that kind of woven into the book and so forth.
Wow, Tuesday trivia, again, this was one of those moments where, truly God ordained. I'm not one of those people that reside on a cloud and or go up to the mountain and and get my instruction like Moses. But I tell you what happened. It was about maybe my third year there. And, like I said, I kind of came in a strange way. So, I was one of those that was kind of hiding behind corners and praying that nobody notice me and maybe I can continue to do the job. And at one point, they brought in an image consultant, and we had a little round table, myself and the other jocks that were on, and they were going around the table. One person that is no longer with us and was there was like, oh, I am the voice of such and such radio, and I've been on for 8 years, and started to roll out all of these credentials. And then, my other colleague was like, oh, I've done this and the other, morning radio and blah, 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 and all these credentials. And when he got to me, I mean, I was shaking. I was shaking because in my mind, I was going, this
Mhm.
is it. I, I'm about to lose this gig right here, and this is it. And I said, well, my experience is that I had direct relation to the music from being involved in multiple choirs. And oh man, I felt that want that kind of. and,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
was like, oh God. I mean, if I could have died right then and there, it was a take me right now, Lord moment. And what I took away from that image consultant is he said, you know, he recommended to everyone that, we needed to do something that would, kind of create a standout.
Hmm.
And really, Tuesday Trivia was created out of fear.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It was created out of, I got to come up with something. But at the same time, it was also influenced by the fact that I had been going to Bible study regularly. And I love going to Bible study. I enjoyed reading the Bible and hearing the pastor give his interpretation. And what I realized is that there were people who love Bible study, but they were afraid of, what if they call on me? What if the pastor asks me a question? No one wanted to be that person to feel like, he's going to ask me a question
Hmm.
and I'm not going to be able to interpret it properly. I don't have the answer, and everybody's going to know that I don't know the word. And people sat in fear at a time where, it's a joy to be able to
Yeah.
learn and study from the word, but instead, people were so wrapped up in their humanness and,
Yeah.
not wanting to be that one that, everybody assumed that everybody knew something that they didn't know, that everybody
Hmm.
probably knew more about the word than, and if people could like quote scriptures and so forth, they were seen as, the holy of holies. And I realized, there were people leaving from Bible study, not really walking away with much more than they came in with. So I started off, with just a couple of questions here and there. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to try it. And I would have like one or two people responding, and I would call their name on the air, and that was cute. And then before
Hmm.
you know it, all of a sudden it was like more and more people, and then people asking questions. And it just kind of spun off from there. And,
Wow.
I have to tell you, Sherwood, at one point I had heard from a listener, and he sent me an email saying, basically he wanted me to stop doing this Tuesday trivia. He said,
Really?
he said, I love the music, but I want you to stop doing this Tuesday trivia because you are making a game of the Bible. You're making a joke of the Bible. He felt that I was taking the word and, I guess sort of desecrating it in a
Yeah.
way
Yeah.
to, to make fun of the word. And, me being, I tell you, West Indian descent, me being the
Hmm.
West Indian that I am, I said, well, I hope you continue to enjoy the music, you know, but, I did take it to heart, and,
Yeah.
I do believe in taking criticism and understanding it because, my takeaway, for that more than anything is that I did not want anyone to ever listen and walk away with the impression that, I was turning the word into, something to be made fun of.
Yeah.
I wanted it
Understood.
to be a moment to encourage people. I wanted people to be able to be in their own homes and, be able to go along at your own pace.
Correct.
Nobody's there to judge you. We're all here to encourage each other. I call everybody Bible scholars, whether they're new to the word or whether they've been studying a long time. I love that people say that, listen, I've learned so much from the Bible just from listening to trivia, or I went to service, this week and we talked about that same topic that you had your
Nice.
question on, and
Nice.
I knew the answers. And, that's how that all came about.
Now that's how that came about. So now tell us now. So the new book, Bible Trivia Made Easy. So
Yes.
how have you now taken that approach from Tuesday trivia? How have you now taken that Tuesday trivia approach and then brought that into the book? Talk a little bit about that.
Well, that is a great question. The way that I took the approach towards the book is the same way the Bible is, written out. When you go into most trivia books, it's usually broken up into beginner, intermediate, expert. I said, the Bible is not written like that. And I generally don't do the questions on air like that. I don't say, okay, this is for the easy folks or the everybody. If I give you a question, I expect everybody to go and find that answer. So the same way that, the Bible is not broken up into easy parts and intermediate parts and hard parts, it's an opportunity in which you can learn the Bible as a whole, as opposed to, pieces and portions, that are broken out, at different times.
Okay, so now I guess then the second part of that now would be, so we just went through Jonathan McReynolds concert. He had the concert, the
Yes.
virtual concert series. And what I thought was interesting in the way in which he kind of structured that was
Hmm.
he had, you know,
Those people,
exactly those people,
the churchy people, the free
passionate,
people.
churchy,
Yeah.
exactly. So now that kind of you touched on it a little bit with the last
Mhm.
question. Now, which one of those people would you say the book is written for, or is written for everyone? Did you had anyone in mind in particular?
Oh, listen, it's written for everybody because, my listeners, interestingly enough, I think it's such honor and it's so humbling to have so many people that identify as bishops and apostles and deacons and ministers. They participate every week. Also, a lot of the gospel artists participate. I've heard from Byron Cage. He said, I know the answers. I've heard from Tam Laman and so many others. So to know that everyone from the lay people, all the way up to those that are actual clergy, they participate each and every week.
Okay. So in that case, then I guess so. Then just taking a step back, then, because once you go ahead and you create something, you kind of have a vision in mind. You kind of have, hey, I'm writing this book, I'm putting this together because I want my readers to kind of take this away, whether it's having, better time with reading the word, family time. Like what were some of those things that you would hope someone, to take away as they're purchasing your book?
Well, first and foremost, I want everyone to feel comfortable with their journey of learning the word because it is a journey. I've been doing Tuesday trivia for, I would say, at least 14 years and have not run out of questions.
Oh
And to
wow.
say
Okay.
that's it's just, we got one book, one book of the Bible. And to be able to say that I have not been repeating questions over the years, um, it's always something new to learn from the word. And that's what I always kind of try to reinforce to the listeners. I have had people that, start to beat themselves up because they felt that, oh, that was an easy one and I missed it, or, oh, I blew it. And I said,
Hmm.
I said, consider it a blessing if you have learned something new from the word of God. You know, any of us can repeat what we have learned over the years, scriptures that we know by heart. But when you get a fresh word from the Bible after having read it for decades, that's a blessing.
No, that is true indeed. And sometimes, even hearing something the second time around, the third time around, and then you kind of have that, that second look at it, like, oh yeah, you know what? I haven't really
I didn't
stopped
even
and thought
think,
about
yeah, I didn't even think of
exactly.
that. Yeah.
Even some of the stuff you said at the kickoff when we were talking about some of the trivia questions in the beginning, I was like, oh, you know what? That's a good one. I like that. So listen, Mita, we thank you so much for stopping by, for talking to us about your new book, Bible Trivia Made Easy. So now tell us, where can everyone connect with you? Where can they participate? How can they participate in Tuesday Trivia? Where can they get the book from? Like, just kind
All
of
of that.
let them know.
Well, I certainly welcome everybody. Each and every week I am doing Tuesday trivia on Kirk Franklin's Praise. That's SiriusXM 64. I generally start the questions somewhere around 1 o'clock Eastern, but I always tell people if you miss it, you can find it on all of my social media pages. I post the questions and the answers there each week. Please do not try to post the question on the social media pages. The saints, they will get you. Let me tell you, don't ruin it for people. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram under my name, Mita Washington. Um, Let me see the book. Okay, the book Bible Trivia Made Easy
Yes.
is available on Amazon.com. If you are in Canada, you can get it. Amazon.ca, UK, it's there for everybody to get.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And listen, guys, while you're, I know you still have a few more hours there for Amazon Prime, while you're snatching up those deals,
That's
make sure
right.
you go on over and you get Bible Trivia Made Easy by Mita Washington. You will not regret it if you've been following these Tuesday trivia. It's a nice thing for you to do with your friends. You know, sometimes you're
Absolutely.
doing Zoom and you're trying to
Yeah.
figure out what activity you can do on Zoom. Hey, get that book,
Especially
open it
now.
up.
That's right.
Exactly.
Especially now.
Exactly.
People seem like they're getting bored, can't figure out what to do. Let me tell you,
There you
that'll keep
go.
you busy.
There
300
you go.
questions.
See, exactly. Mita, thank you so much
Thank
again
you,
for
Sharon.
stopping by, for talking to us. And yes, guys, go on out and get that.
God bless you.
Likewise.